Current expectations are way out of whack. You don't need life to get easier. Life doesn't work that way, and wasting resources ruminating over it is pointless because it's never going to happen. Rewire your brain to think this way. You need to become harder to break. And right now, most people are doing the exact opposite of what that takes. Let's talk about that.
4, 3, 2, 1.
Lift off and the clock has started.
And a great good day to each and every one of you bright, shining souls, wherever you may be across the globe, and welcome to balanceFIT Radio. We're talking about strength, meaning, and the human experience. I'm your host, Scott Schroeder, certified personal trainer, nutrition coach with specialties in corrective exercise and performance enhancement. balanceFIT Radio is where fitness meets psychology and philosophy in everyday life, because true wellness is about more than just the body. It's about balance. Let's get after it, shall we? Hey, what do you call a snowman with a six-pack? An abdominal snowman. Thank you very much. Now that right there is strong, elite winter fitness right there. All right, let's get into something real that you can take with you into the week ahead. There is a level of fulfillment in life that you cannot fake, and you cannot shortcut your way to it. It only comes from doing hard things. But here we've built an entire culture around avoiding discomfort, avoid effort, avoid friction, avoid anything that feels like struggle. Now, that's not intrinsically bad. No sane person desires constant hardship, but in the process of smoothing all the wrinkles, we've accidentally removed the very thing that gives life meaning. Because hardship isn't a bug in the system. It's a feature. Think about the moments in your life that actually meant something. Not the easy ones, not the comfortable ones, the ones where you had to push, endure, figure it out, survive something. That's where identity is built. That's where confidence comes from. Not being told you're capable, but from proving it to yourself. And now we've got this modern menu of shortcuts, weight loss drugs, life hacks, dopamine hits from screens, substances to numb everything, endless entertainment to distract from reality. And none of it builds anything. It just delays the moment where you have to face yourself. And honestly, if I were trying to destroy the will of a people to live through agency and experience, to surrender fortitude and capability in favor of lethargy, apathy, and utter flatness, that's the menu I'd create. Because life is buttressed by capability and resilience, and you don't become strong by avoiding stress. You become strong by adapting to it. That's physiology, that's psychology, that's life. Your body grows under resistance. Your mind sharpens under challenge. Your spirit expands when tested. Remove the resistance, and you remove the growth. Why do military units bond so tightly? Why do athletes form lifelong connections? It's not the uniforms. It's not the trophies. It's the shared suffering. It's going through something difficult together and coming out the other side different, stronger, resilient, more capable, more confident, more connected. That's what we're missing. We've been told that comfort is the goal. It's not. Comfort is a byproduct of doing hard things well. And when you chase comfort as the goal, you end up weak, anxious, unfulfilled. Any of that sound familiar? Because deep down, you know you're capable of more. Now, this isn't about punishment. It's not about grinding yourself into the ground. It's about alignment. Doing things that are hard enough to make you better. And here's the part you've heard me repeat over and over. This isn't new. There's nothing new under the sun. This is how humans have always operated. Movement, challenge, effort, growth. The mess we're in now? Well, that's what happens when we try to outsmart basic human behavior. So what do? You don't overhaul your life. You don't go from zero to Spartan warrior overnight. You just stop avoiding one hard thing. One, go for the walk. Lift something. Have the conversation. Turn the goddamn screen off. Go to bed earlier. Do something that requires effort, because on the other side of that effort is a version of you that feels better, moves better, and lives better. Hard things don't break you. They reveal you. That's today's message. Let's reinforce it looking through the latest fitness headlines. All right, from Science Daily, mental health boost. Science Daily reports a study finding exercise is up to 1.5 times more effective than medication or counseling for easing depression and anxiety. And here we go again, another one of those moments where I hang over the microphone or look in the camera, depending on which medium through which you are intaking this into your brain pan, and go, duh. Come on, y'all. We know this. You know this intrinsically. You don't need the data, although there's plenty of data there. Here's the basics of this. First of all, get up and move. Get your eyeballs out of the screens, whether it's your desktop, your laptop, your phone, the TV, whatever it is, you got to disconnect. You got to get out. You got to step out of the data stream. It's too much. It's information overload. It doesn't even matter if it's good information. It's information overload. Your brain needs time to decompress. Your brain needs time to process all of the information that it's being given. If not, there's going to be a backlog of it. And where do you think this feeling of overwhelmed anxiety and depression comes from? Not processing information and too much of it. You were not meant to possess all the knowledge of the universe, okay? You can't handle it all. We're meant to pretty much be in a fairly small circle of friends and family and community members and dealing with our things locally. There's mostly nothing that you can do about almost everything that goes on this earth, and you're stressing out over it. So you got to get out of the data stream. Next, the basic chemical and physiological things, reactions, actions that happen when you exercise, like endorphins and endorphin release, particularly the beta endorphins. There's multiple kinds of them, but don't worry about it. That's nerdy, sciencey stuff you don't care about. But you're going to get an endorphin release when you exercise. And the beta endorphin actually acts as kind of like the body's natural pain reliever. So when that breaking through the wall, you talk about runners hitting the wall and breaking through the wall and the runner's high. That's exactly what that is. Your body is taking care of itself. Okay. It is releasing happiness hormones like the neurotransmitter boost of dopamine, serotonin, and norepinephrine, while simultaneously lowering cortisol. Those are all physiological things that happen to you when you exercise, particularly strenuous, in fact, specifically strenuous, vigorous exercise that is difficult for you to do. Hard things. That's kind of the theme of this whole episode. Your sleep is going to improve, and poor sleep is directly tied to depression, anxiety, all these things, all the mental health issues. Poor sleep. Once again, put the screen down, put the phone down. My God, stop sleeping with your phone. I know this is a cultural thing and everybody thinks it's normal. Like, you think I'm a crazy person by saying don't sleep with your phone on your nightstand. Get it out of the room. If you can't handle it. Some people can put it down, set an alarm on it, whatever, not even worry about it. But if you can't handle that thing, if it's controlling you, it's controlling your sleep and it's killing your sleep. I talk to young people all the time at the gym who just tell me how they're just tired. They're just tired all the time. It's because they're not sleeping. They're staring at a screen 2 inches from their nose until 3 o'clock in the morning. So you're obviously disrupting your sleep cycle. But once again, you're living in that data stream, which is just spiking and depressing all of your moods and your hormones that control that stuff. Okay, tangent aside on that, once again, I can take everything back to screen time. Strenuous, difficult, hard exercise will improve your feeling of self-efficacy. And what does that mean? That means your belief, your inherent belief in yourself after accomplishing something, that you can do it. You can do hard things. Self-efficacy leads to positive self-talk and the thoughts that go on in your head. So you got to get out there and do things, difficult things. You're going to have increased energy. Your strenuous exercise is going to build your cardiorespiratory fitness, and it's going to build your strength. Those things are going to give you more energy naturally, period. The bottom line is that when it comes to exercise, that doing hard things improves your life. The science and the data are all there. But more importantly, millions of healthy people stand as real representations of that data. Moving on. Workout timing. Research published in WebMD indicates that midday exercise may provide greater reductions in the risk of premature death compared to morning or evening workouts. This is one of those things that I think the data, it's thin. This is going to come down to each individual. We try to put everybody in neat little rows and columns and boxes. It just doesn't work that way. I work out in the middle of the day. It falls best in my schedule, and I feel at my peak basically between about 10 a.m. and 3 p.m. is pretty much my peak, and I might have a little dip in there depending on what I'm doing. Sometimes I have to sit here at this desk and get things done, and that's when I'll feel that little dip. So get away from the screen, stand up and move yourself. Anyway, there is some evidence to indicate that peak performance, body temperature, flexibility, things like that are greatest in the middle portion of the day. And you can define middle portion of the day as a little bit of a sliding scale, but basically sometime between 10 a.m. and 4 p.m.-ish, something like that, 11 a.m. and 3 p.m., somewhere in that range. There's some indication of slight improvement in metabolic and health performance. Getting up and exercising in the middle of the day is going to help you break that brain slump that you feel, particularly after lunch, after eating, depending on what you've eaten. But the bottom line, and here it is again, bottom line, there should be a bottom line to everything. The best time for you to work out is when you can stay most consistent. If that means you get up first thing in the morning and before you do anything, you do your workout, if that works, if that means that you can do that 4, 5, 6 times a week, do it. Whatever. If for you it's 8 o'clock at night, whatever. Because if that's what your schedule allows, or that's when your personal biorhythms peak your energy, do it, man. It all comes down to you. Don't try to pick and choose what works for random studies or people, not you. Do what works for you. Stick with what works for you. Consistency beats every other metric 100% of the time in everything. All right, do what works for you. Heart monitoring. Oh boy, this is a thing. The popularity of wearable trackers has exploded over the past 5 years, and doctors warn that over-reliance on these devices can cause unnecessary anxiety. Here we go with anxiety again. Man, we are an anxious culture, aren't we? Yeah, I agree. I wear this Apple Watch because all of my stuff is Apple, and I was really, honestly, I bought this thing because when you get older, you can't see as well, and I can read the numbers pretty easily when I'm running and not if I'm not wearing my contacts. So I got it because of that, and as a reliable step tracker, because about 5, 6 years ago ish, I set a goal. I had a fitness goal to do 5 million steps in a year, and that was the best way for me to track it. I use it to track the basics that it gives you, which is, of course, steps, stand hours, exercise minutes, and calories burned. But I do not rely on this as the thing that pushes me through my day. And I had my wife's boss years ago told her when these things first started becoming more mainstream and less expensive, that he just got rid of his because it was forcing him. He was sort of letting it run his day instead of just kind of using it as a tool. And that's a danger in what can happen, particularly when we're talking about things like heart monitoring, health metrics like that. You got to be real careful about that. These things they're not as accurate as you'd like them to be, or as the manufacturers claim that they are. So yes, use them as a tool, as an aid, just like anything else in life. Use it as a tool that benefits you. Don't use it as a foundational element. Data is, of course, useful, but information overload, data does not equal wisdom. Data does not equal what's necessarily going on inside your own body. And like I said, if you let this thing sort of run your day instead of using it as a tool, yeah, it's going to produce stress and anxiety. If your step goal is 10,000 and you're only at 9,000, 20 minutes before bedtime, and you find yourself walking laps around the house. Is that from personal experience? Yes. But bottom line, if your fitness tool is preoccupying your life and making you anxious, it's no longer helping you. So either get rid of it or get control of it. All right. That is enough for headlines. Let's bring this down to your real life. So here are a few listener questions. I'm going to start with Grace T in Nashville. She's 23 and she wants to know, diet or exercise, which is better for weight loss? Yes. All right. First of all, I want you to think in terms, Grace and everybody else, of fat loss instead of weight loss. But hold that thought for a second. Put an asterisk next to that because I'm going to come back to fat loss. Your goal shouldn't necessarily be to lose weight, but particularly to lose adipose tissue, which is also known as fat. That's your body fat, visceral fat, and subcutaneous fat. And building resistance training will build healthy muscle mass, which is going to aid in energy balance, which is what you want to try to figure out. Once you get to your healthy body composition or body weight or whatever it is you're trying to get to, once you get to that goal, energy balance is what you want. Calories in, calories out, to simplify it. But remember that muscle mass has weight. And so you could see a significant reduction in body fat, but your scale weight might stay steady or actually even go up. So break this down a little bit. Like I said, think in terms of fat loss, but I want to come back to that for a second. Don't get too focused on just fat loss. Your body needs fat to function, particularly you as a woman, Grace. Women tend to lose sight of this, but fat actually helps drive hormone balance. So you want to be real careful not to lose too much of your body fat. A very, very low body fat percentage is not healthy. So let that guide you when it comes to meal planning, splitting up your macros, and doing all that kind of stuff. Diet, your nutrition plan, of course, impacts weight loss, and it can actually impact the speed of the weight loss more than exercise, because you shouldn't really be exercising for weight loss. You should be exercising for strength, health, capability. But both diet and exercise are needed for fat loss and for muscle maintenance. And if you follow a good nutrition and fitness plan, fat loss and muscle gain will be basically two sides of the same coin. So don't over emphasize one or the other. And as the old saying goes, a six-pack is made in the kitchen, not in the gym. And it's true. Yes, you can build those muscles down there in the rectus abdominis and everything you got going on in there. But if there's a nice thick layer of fat over those muscles, you're not going to see them. So lean down fat-wise in the kitchen and build up muscle-wise in the gym. So to answer your question, which is better, diet or exercise? Well, Grace, you're 23 years old. You're going to have no idea what I'm talking about, what I'm about to say, unless you had awesome parents. But if you're a little bit older like me, I'll give you an analogy. Diet or exercise, which is better? It's like David Lee Roth or Sammy Hagar. You don't pick one. The correct answer is both. Shout out to my Van Halen fans. All right. I hope that was useful for you all. Next up, Matt J. in Columbus, Ohio. Matt is 30 years old. I love it's everything's been, you guys, by the way, you Gen Z and you baby millennials are really making me very happy with the ownership that you're taking in your health, your capability, and your future. Because I get a lot of questions and I get a lot of interactions with you guys. And I work with a lot of Gen Z at the Ninja Parkour gym I work out, and I love them. Love them. They are really all over it. So good on you guys. But anyway, Matt J., Columbus, Ohio, 30 years old. Matt asks, can I build muscle and lose fat at the same time? Kind of goes back to what we were talking about with Grace, which I sort of bled her answer over into this one unintentionally. But the question is yes. And this is commonly referred to as body recomposition. Body recomposition is the process of simultaneously losing fat and gaining muscle. You're shifting your body composition to be leaner and stronger rather than just lowering your overall weight. And this is a goal that I think, this is a health goal that I think most people should work to achieve, depending on a lot of different factors, your environment, your DNA, everything that you can do, everything going on around you. You're going to be successful to this to one degree or another. And you need to determine ultimate success based on what it is that you need to get done and you want to do. But you get to body recomp, to building lean muscle mass and losing excess fat by combining a higher protein intake than maybe the usual that you would consider, unless you're a bodybuilder. Combining that with strength training and a slight calorie deficit. Do not go insane on your calorie deficit. You're just going to burn through your energy stores and you're going to be on an unhealthy energy balance. So this approach, it works for everybody, but it's particularly effective. And I don't know where you are, Matt, doesn't matter on your path here, but it's particularly effective for beginners, those returning from a long break from a fitness regimen, or people with high body fat percentage, because you can lose a lot of excess adipose tissue through a reasonable nutrition and fitness plan. Now, body recomp requires a delicate balance to maintain while staying healthy, because if you're killing yourself through an out of whack fitness nutrition plan, what's the point? But as I said, it's worth it. Your macro split, because everybody's going to want to know what that should be. It's going to be different for everybody depending on what kind of, a lot of your personal factors, but also how much exercise that you're getting. But if we're talking about body recomp, you're probably going to be engaging in some pretty intense exercise along with good recovery. So your macro split is probably going to want to fall in the 35, 45, 20-ish range, plus or minus a few. So 35% protein, 45% carbs, and 20% fat. And this has got to be high quality whole foods. You can do this macro split, but if it's low quality food and your carbs are garbage and your fat is mostly saturated fat, you're putting yourself behind the 8 ball. And remember, just like I mentioned previously, don't go too low on the carbs or the fat or the carbs, because you need them both. If you are working at body recomp, you're going to be engaging in high intensity exercise, in a lot of effort in this, and you're going to need your carbohydrates as your primary source of fuel. I would strongly recommend that you mix in walking, zone 2-ish walking. That's where your fat's going to come, fat burn's going to come from, where your body flips its primary energy source from carbohydrates, which it primarily wants during high intensity stuff, to fat, which is a slow burning, long-term burning fuel source. So mix that up that way. Use that macro split if you're looking for the body recomp thing. And as far as protein goes, listen, all information is good information, and we can argue about protein volume until the cows come home, but 1 gram per pound of body weight, I think, for the average person is pretty good. Now, for me, I weigh anywhere between 100 and 161, 62 pounds, depending on where I'm at in training cycles and what I'm training for, whether I'm training for OCR or I'm leaning more into strength training. I find it difficult. I don't like to eat that much. Don't like to be full. So I find it actually kind of difficult. Eating 160 grams of protein per day for me is really hard. And I'm not a big fan of bloaty gassiness, but if your GI tract can handle a lot of protein, then go for it. Just make sure you're doing the exercise to make the best use of it. So 1 gram per pound of body weight. And again, man, if you're like 225 pounds, that's a lot of food. This can be difficult, but easy ways to bulk up your protein intake without just, eating half a cow. Do things like egg whites. Those are basically free protein. 46 grams of egg whites is 5 grams of protein, and there's 25 calories, and it's no fat, no carbs, so it doesn't mess with your macro balance, your splits. That way, if you cook your ground beef, ground chicken, and drain it, you're going to go ahead and get, when we talked about high quality whole foods, you're going to try to get your grass-fed, grass-finished ground beef. And we'll use ground beef in this example. You got to be the best you're going to find, or the most common you're going to find, is 85-15 or 90-10. If you cook that and then drain it yourself, drain the hell out of it, put it on a bed of paper towels and then mash more paper towels on top of it and take more of that, that saturated fat away from it, but B, the liquid weight. So when you measure when you're prepping your meal and you measure your food, if you've got 100 grams of ground beef and you don't drain it very well, a lot of that's going to be fat. So drain it, you're going to get a higher portion per gram of protein in well drained ground meat. So that's just another way that you can do that. And of course, enhancing with good quality whey protein shakes. You can mix it with skim milk. I mix my whey protein shake with half and half skim milk and water. It hydrates me, gives me the protein I need without having to eat another meal, and I get a little boost, extra protein and vitamins and minerals from the milk. So anyway, I think it's a good plan. I like it. Be careful with it. Be mindful of it. Be scientific behind it, and good luck, because this is how you get lean and capable, not just lighter. And that's a good thing. All right. Next up, Lily R, 45, from Tomball, Texas. Out in the Houston area, a bit northwest of Houston, I believe. Has Houston grown up to Tomball yet, Lily? Anyway, she asks, how can I stay motivated? Good question. I talk about this frequently. I'm going to bring it back. Find your why and focus on building habits rather than looking for quick fixes, or especially brain hacks. Get out of the hack culture. And this is the Semper model of molding habits into self-engineering processes through repetition and the psychology of what's known as the habit loop, which is essentially what the Semper model is. Self-engineering machine of perpetual effectiveness and resolve. But the habit loop is a 3-part process. It has a cue or a trigger for the behavior, then it has the routine or the behavior, and then a reward, positive reinforcement for following through with that behavior. And that way, habits form through repetition in a stable context, and it strengthens neural pathways until the behavior becomes automatic and requires little conscious effort. As I always say, it just becomes part of your background operating system. You do a thing, you do it again and again and again and over and over and over and over until you no longer think about doing it. It's no longer a thing that you do. It's just part of you. That's how you build self-engineering habits, with repetition and through the habit loop. But circling back to the why, find your why. This is the thing that's going to help you do the hard things that you need to do, Lily, to stay healthy and well, because ultimately your true motivation to begin anything like this and to keep going, because that's where motivation to begin, I think, can be the easier pathway. It's the motivation to keep going. It's going to come down to your why. Why are you working so hard? And you should have a fundamental why, like your family, your kids, your grandkids, your spouse, yourself not dying. That's a pretty good why. But you should also have some fun whys, like the compliment you got from a stranger or the cute girl who smiled at you in the coffee shop, whatever, stuff like that. Because come on, life's kind of a drag if there aren't any lighthearted moments. And a balanced life isn't all discipline, suffering, and austerity, okay? Motivation starts you, but habits carry you. So here's the through line today. Stop avoiding the things that would make you better. Pick one hard thing this week, something you probably wouldn't ordinarily do, and do it anyway. That's where this starts. You don't need a softer life. You need to build a stronger version of yourself to live the life that's constantly coming at you no matter what you do. Resiliency begets calm. Calm can handle shit, and you need that more than you need softness, because the world and life will never be soft. Heck yeah. Thanks for spending time with me today on balanceFIT Radio. If this conversation resonated with you, please share it with someone who might need it. And let me leave you with this thought. Those who do not find time for exercise will certainly have to find time for illness. That was from Edward Stanley, the 15th Earl of Derby. Until we meet again, be capable and resolute and move through life with a sense of purpose. Train to be the right kind of dangerous, and remember, your life, your potential. Peace out, homies, and I'll see y'all next time.